This is hands down my favorite leg extension curl combo machine of those that I have ever used. I don't know why I'm standing like the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Obviously, I've not used every machine ever made, but I have owned like 3, or well, I guess 4 if you count the rack-mounted, plate-loaded DIY bullshit that I had before I convinced myself that the Titan plate-loaded machine would be good enough for a home gym. Later, I sold that, of course, in favor of a Techno Gym, selectorized commercial-grade combo unit thing. I don't know, my thought process was, why should home gym be synonymous with subpar equipment? Which is essentially what also brought me to this guy. And of course, like a lot of you, I have personal experience with numerous machines from a variety of commercial gyms that I've frequented over the years. That's kind of irrelevant. I mean, that's just not really what this video is about, okay? The point that I'm gonna get to is that not everything on this machine is perfect. I'm gonna show you what sucks in a minute, and I'm gonna offer a few recommendations for how you can minimize the suck. I just don't feel like it's fair for me to rant about everything I hate without at least pointing out the fact that I really and truly do love this machine. And without getting into a whole ass review, I'm also gonna say that all the other things that you might consider in a review, things like materials used, the build quality, welds, overall finish, the mechanics, adjustability, all that stuff, I mean, it's absolutely going to blow your mind, meet or exceed your expectations. Lead time, however, that's a little bit of a different story, okay? Prime does a really stellar job when it comes to building commercial gym equipment, even if it takes them a year to do it. But at this level though, I mean, you should expect that. A lot of manufacturers do. And the thing that really sets this apart though, the thing that no one else can touch on this, literally, it is the SmartCam system, okay? You gotta think of it like having 10 different isolation exercises just for your quads and hamstrings at your disposal. The only thing you have to do to access those is move this lever. You can do it on the fly. It's super easy to adjust, and the difference from one setting to the next is not only immediate, but it's also evident. Like, for example, I might start a set at 1, which is the mid-range, and it feels the most like any nice traditional leg extension that you've ever used. I'll get through my reps, you know, slow and controlled until my quads are full and completely on fire and the F word is no longer effective. Then I'll immediately switch to the SmartCam to setting number 2, which is going to put the load at the end of the range of motion. So you're really able to capitalize on the pre-exhaustion from the first several reps that you'd completed like in the first setting. And then you can hyper focus on now the lower portion of your quads, like the teardrop and all those areas of the quad at the insertion point, like around your knee, that often get overridden by the larger parts of the quad before they actually get maximum stimulus. So in a nutshell, that's just one example of why this machine over the others, okay? It's the SmartCam. And with all the different settings that you could literally program an entire leg day just around this machine, and that's no bullshit. What is bullshit though, it's this thing. It's this wobbly ass back pad. Now, as a back pad for leg extensions, there's actually nothing at all to complain about. I mean, I guess if you really want to be a bitch, you could mention this plastic knob that's bright green, but it does serve very well as a back pad for leg extensions. However, things do start to get a little wonky when you recline to the prone position. As you can see, there's a 2x2 insertion tube with a 1 3/4 inch run of square tubing. There's some cross-drilled holes, a pop pin for adjusting the pad to accommodate various users of different size, pretty standard issue stuff. But this, in conjunction with the little bit of movement surrounding the adjustment pop pin and its relative hole on the underside of the seat, is going to be the source of the issue. I do want to point out though, this is not necessarily uncommon with combo units, especially the ones that go from seated to prone. For example, my Techno Gym was also seated to prone, and although a different design, it still had its fair share of wobbliness. That's because things like tubing tolerances, the pin, the hole size, everything they have to do to make it easily transform from one position to the other, they all have a tolerance. And that while they are well within spec, they may not quite meet the expectation of the hypercritical white-collar home gymmer who expects every aspect of every machine to feel as if each part was handcrafted and carefully calibrated by the hand of Enzo Ferrari himself. Okay, all that being said, I would still put this machine way above anything else I've ever used. Even if I had no solution to offer and I had to live with a wobbly pad, the SmartCam overwhelmingly overshadows the perceived flaws. And if you happen to have this machine, or if you're considering it, or if you have the pleasure of using it in a commercial gym or at a friend's house or wherever else you might come across this thing, I have 3 recommendations. I would make the number 3, but my mobility sucks so bad that I actually can't. The only way that I can do that is to give you the shocker. But I digress. I have 3 recommendations for how I would deal with this wobbly back pad. It's not going to require any sort of modification to your machine. Not going to require you to purchase anything additionally, and it's also not going to interfere with your workout in any way. Option 1, as we get into it, call this one shut up and lift. If you're in the Midwest, you might hear us say quit your bitchin', right? It's one word. And what that means is that you're going to grab the handles, you're going to bury your face in the pad and rep it out, right? When you get to the end of your set, if you're still thinking about the wobbly pad, do another rep. You're going to repeat that as often as necessary until all that frustration transfers to a painful burning sensation in the back of your legs. I guarantee you, man, I guarantee if you do it the right way, the back pad is going to be the absolute least of your concerns. You feel me? Quit your bitching, okay? Option 2, this one is my second favorite. For option 2, you're going to recline the seat to the prone position. Again, bury your face into the pad, but instead of grabbing the handles on the back, you'll put your hands here on the frame. Mine happen to fall comfortably right at the bend, and you're going to use that as your handle. It's oddly effective because your natural tendency is to pull against that while doing your leg curls, you know, so you can cheat. But you're essentially just pulling the chest pad into your body and stabilizing it with your chest. I don't know, it works, okay? Okay, option 3 is my personal favorite, and for a few reasons, okay? Even though this one has a few extra steps, or 2 extra steps, I guess. Maybe if you count the extra step twice when you're returning it to the seated position. I don't know. Basically, prone position, right? But instead of smashing your face into the pad like a loser, you're going to reach around, pull that bright ass green adjustment knob that we bitched about earlier, let gravity allow the seat to drop all the way to the very bottom of the insertion tube, pull it up slightly until it clicks, and as you can see, it's going to look a little bit different from what you're used to. But not only does this address 99% of that sloppy ass wobble, it also allows you to keep your head in a more neutral position instead of turning it to the side or whatever you do with your head. You're not going to smash your face into the pad. And if you do decide to rest your forehead on the pad, you still have all this open area where you can breathe through your lifts. You aren't slobbering all over your equipment. It's incredible. I actually prefer this setup over a traditional leg curl where the only option is to motorboat the pad and pray to God someone wiped it down after they ooched ass crack sweat from one end of the machine to the other right before you got to it. I have a dog licking me. There's probably a 4th option too, just do the standing leg curls or whatever, but no one's gonna buy a combo unit so they can not use the combo features. So let me know in the comments if you know a better way to address this, or if you have any specific questions about this machine, or if you want to chat about something else. In the meantime, use code MWPIG5. It's going to save you 5% on several qualifying items at primefitnessusa.com. But of course, and unfortunately for both of us, this machine is not one of them. Although it would be a lot cooler if it was. That being said, maybe this is where I'm supposed to point out the fact that I have an affiliation with Prime, if that's not obvious. I don't know. I did purchase this machine more than a year before the affiliation, if that counts for anything. I also paid full price for it, and I also funded it 100% with my own money. I don't know who else's money I'd use, but, you know, or if that's even a thing. If it is, let me know, and I'll apply. I don't know. I'm probably going to edit this part out because I just sound like I'm fucking weird. But there you have it.